He once captured the blazing lightning flashing across the sky yet could never warm the cold lonely hotel room where he spent his final days. Nikola Tesla, a name both glorified and fragmented in the eyes of ordinary people, hid an unspoken lonely world unseen and misunderstood behind his deep melancholy eyes. Tonight, accompanied by the quiet glow of flickering flames, we step into the true later life of this unparalleled genius. Have you ever met someone who seems able to peer straight through the flow of time? Nikola Tesla was exactly such a pure wandering soul. He tore up hugely profitable patent contracts with his own hands, turning down immense wealth that could have been his without effort, yet through the endless long lonely nights he shared his last trace of dignity with the pigeons wandering quietly in the city square. Close your eyes and drift back to that age filled with whirring gears and crackling electric sparks, and feel the calm inner strength lingering deep within his soul. If there is anyone the world owes a sincere apology, it is undoubtedly Nikola Tesla, a fated soul wandering along the blurred boundary between genius and mental unrest. He chose quiet silence and humble poverty under the heavy pressure of capital interests, yet what he left behind for all humanity is this everlasting electrified era that never fades into darkness. Tonight, nestled in this gentle story meant only for quiet reflection, may you fall peacefully asleep beneath the endless starlight. Belonging to Tesla. Late one night in January 1943, inside room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel in Manhattan, New York, the room number plaque swayed faintly in the bitter cold wind. This quiet corner of the bustling city held an 86-year-old elderly man lying alone on plain cheap bed linen, his breath faint, fragile, and almost imperceptible. Decades earlier, this very man had torn apart the dark night of human civilization with his own hands, letting the vital flow of electric power course across every inch of the Earth's surface. His name was Nikola Tesla. Tonight, accompanied by the softly flickering glow of the hearth fire, we walk fully into the untold life of this remarkable soul. Through this tranquil tale meant only for quiet reflection, in his final days he had no money or savings left at all, even falling deep into heavy unpaid hotel bills, his only companions being the soft cooing pigeons perched quietly beside his window ledge. Rumors spread among the public labeling him a madman, a heretic who could not grasp the rules of money and commerce, a fallen eccentric lost in fantasy during his declining years. Yet within his sunken eyes, still shimmering with a faint divine radiance, he envisioned perpetual motion machines of endless energy and a boundless future of global wireless interconnection. He was a prophet lost to the passage of time, lingering on the blurred line between divine holiness and quiet madness, completing his final and most serene experiment in solitary stillness. The first bitter crack in his fate emerged right at the intersection of lofty idealism and greedy commercial ambition. During the prime of his most confident flourishing years at that time, Nikola Tesla stood right in the eye of the storm known in history as the War of Currents, his powerful opponent being Thomas Edison, who ruled over an enormous industrial capital empire. Edison resorted to cheap slander, malicious rumors, and ruthless cutthroat competition, attempting to strangle Tesla's alternating current system while it was still in its early vulnerable stages. Yet Tesla never dwelt on thoughts of revenge nor dreamed of becoming a billionaire tycoon. His mind focused only on how to make electric power as free and accessible as the very air people breathe. When George Westinghouse faced the threat of bankruptcy, unable to afford the astronomical patent fees owed to Tesla, Tesla made a shocking decision that astounded the entire world. Sitting in the anxious businessman's home, he tore up the lucrative patent contract with his own hands, a simple signature on which could have made him the richest man alive overnight. He spoke calmly as he discarded the document, "As long as my alternating current can serve and benefit all humanity, patent royalties hold no importance to me." In that moment the warm glow of the fireplace fell upon his sharp, refined features, his gaze filled with a pure, almost self-sacrificing devotion to idealism. Yet this choice sealed the bleak, lonely tone of his later years forever. The heavy doors of capital slammed shut firmly behind him. Investors who once crowded around him with admiration began staring at him with the wary, curious gaze reserved for a strange outsider. They could never comprehend a man who rejected wealth and material gain, and any soul that cannot be controlled or manipulated will eventually be squeezed and marginalized by the cold, rigid rules of the worldly world. When worldly glory and bustling prosperity faded away completely, Tesla poured all his inner passion and lifelong obsession into the grand illusory dream of the Wardenclyffe Tower. It was his ambitious attempt to realize global wireless energy transmission, hoping to deliver free electric power to people living deep within the Sahara Desert just as easily as to researchers working inside laboratories in New York. On desolate open land in Long Island, the towering wooden structure stood tall beneath The vast starry sky, and Tesla would often sit alone atop the tower watching quietly until the first light of dawn broke over the horizon. He could sense the subtle pulsing microwaves trembling in the air and hear the low-frequency rhythmic heartbeat resonating deep within the earth itself. This extraordinary perception, far ahead of his time, gradually made him grow increasingly eccentric, withdrawn and isolated. When financial giants, such as J.P. Morgan, withdrew their funding halfway, the massive tower, condensed with all his lifelong effort and hopes, was eventually left to decay into useless scrap metal, and with its collapse Tesla's inner world crumbled into pieces as well. This failure was never merely a financial setback, it was a profound disappointment in humanity's capacity for empathy and selflessness. He longed to gift the greatest technological treasure to the whole world, yet the world cared only about profit, margins and material returns. He gradually developed extreme habits of strict personal cleanliness, a deep aversion to round-shaped objects, and even the compulsion to wipe tableware with 18 paper napkins every time he dined in a hotel. This obsessive-compulsive tendency was in truth the final fortress guarding his inner sense of order. As a genius struggling to cope with an increasingly out-of-control chaotic world, he wrote quietly in his personal journal, "My mind is merely a receiver. At the core of the universe lies a central source from which we draw boundless knowledge, strength and creative inspiration." By this point he was no longer merely a physicist and inventor, he had become a solitary ascetic, groping silently for the underlying source code of the universe hidden deep within the darkness of existence. In his declining years, Tesla moved into one run-down hotel room after another, each one more humble and shabby than the last, until he finally settled down inside that small quiet chamber. He grew increasingly attached to pigeons, walking to the city park every single day to feed the gray-winged creatures gently, even bringing injured, wounded pigeons back to his room to nurse them back to health. The quiet emotional bond he shared with these birds tugs softly at the heart. Once a celebrated figure who conversed casually with kings, nobles and world-famous celebrities, his closest, most understanding companions in old age turned out to be ordinary wild birds. He once spoke tenderly of one pure white pigeon. "I love this pigeon just as a man loves the woman of his heart." This was never the absurd rambling of a deranged mind, it was the last trace of warmth, forgiveness and gentle understanding a deeply sensitive soul rejected by the secular world could find outside human connection. He continued sketching intricate design drafts on cheap plain paper, outlining concepts for death ray weapons, remote control technology and communication systems utilizing the Earth's ionosphere. To people of his era these ideas seemed utterly absurd, impossible fantasy, yet we know well that decades later every one of these visions evolved into tangible reality. The immense sense of displacement and alienation brought by living far ahead of his time filled his later life with profound solemn sorrow. He could clearly see the distant destination of human progress, yet walked the lonely path with no one to walk beside him. He began experiencing frequent vivid hallucinations, seeing blinding electric sparks filling his small room, those flickering flashes seeming like divine whispers speaking directly to his soul. He refused all medical treatment, firmly believing his own body formed a perfect closed energetic cycle. Only in complete, quiet stillness could he complete the final spiritual and physical attunement with the universe. Inside the cold, shabby room numbered 3327, Tesla spent his final quiet hours alone, with no relatives or friends by his side. A "Do Not Disturb" sign hung firmly outside his door, serving as his last and most powerful declaration to the world. Plagued by severe malnutrition and heart failure, he passed away peacefully in his sleep, leaving behind the world he had dedicated his entire life to transforming completely. Within just a few hours after his passing, government agents entered his private room, removing all his design drafts, research notes and experimental manuscripts. Those precious pages recording visions far beyond his era were sealed away as cold, classified, confidential documents, while his own existence was deliberately marginalized, downplayed and quietly erased from mainstream public memory. His death resembled a brilliant shooting star falling silently upon desolate wilderness, stirring no grand waves, yet sending deep, silent vibrations rippling through the foundations of human science. His funeral was held at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in Manhattan, attended by more than 2,000 people, yet most were merely curious onlookers or attendees following ritual tradition. The few who truly understood his profound loneliness, lofty ideals and far-reaching vision were likely still busy living ordinary lives beneath the neon lights he had helped create, completely unaware that the great creator behind modern civilization had taken his final bow. He died with barely a few coins left in his pocket, yet the legacy he left behind holds value that can never be measured by money or material wealth. His entire life proves that in a worldly society obsessed with efficiency, profit and capital, the most profound eternal truths can only be gained at the cost of thorough, unending solitude. By the end of this quiet tale you have come to see the real Nikola Tesla hidden behind worldly fame and exaggerated legend. He was never a cursed eccentric genius, merely a pure unyielding soul who refused to compromise with mediocrity and would never bow down to the rules of capital. Returning to the puzzle we posed at the beginning about who could truly understand his lonely later years, the answer lies right within the electric lights, wireless networks and modern technology we use every single day. Though he breathed his last in bleak solitude, he achieved eternal life within every crackling electric spark and every flowing wireless signal. He left behind no accumulated wealth or material fortune, yet gifted humanity the complete foundational framework of modern life, along with the fearless courage to dream boldly of what the world deems impossible today. That famous room 3327 has long housed new guests, yet every night as darkness falls the countless lights of Manhattan still twinkle endlessly just as they did in his time. The warm glow of tonight's hearth is fading slowly. Let us pay quiet, heartfelt tribute to this lonely pioneering visionary through this gentle lingering story. As you close your eyes and drift into peaceful dreams, may your inner world be filled with the same soft, quiet light that surrounded Tesla, illuminating every misunderstood, lonely moment in your own life. Let your breathing slow gradually into steady calm, releasing all trivial worries, future anxieties and lingering regrets to sink into profound stillness. Good night, Nikola Tesla, and may you also rest in peaceful, undisturbed dreams this evening.